You have remarkable skills, but you're churlish and arrogant, prancing around in a uniform that you have not earned.
You can't spell Edward Kenway without wayward, and the protagonist of Assassin's Creed Black Flag truly embodies the word. At the game's beginning, he spins a story to his wife about riches in the New World and leaves Bristol by boat.
I want food that don't make me sick. I want walls that hold back the wind. I want a decent life.
He writes home once a year and otherwise behaves like a man with no responsibilities, either to his family or his fellow sailors. After a sea battle spits him out on the shore of Cape Bonavista, he winds up in an altercation with an assassin named Duncan Walpole.
Fucking pirates!
When Walpole tries to negotiate passage to Havana, Kenway attempts a robbery and the fight escalates to the point of murder. Soon enough, Walpole lies dead in Cuba, his body hidden in a bush and his outfit donned by his killer.
Guest of honor has arrived, Mr. Duncan Walpole.
Kenway impersonates the assassin in the hope of profiting from a deal with a local governor, selling the maps found in Walpole's pocket, which detail the location of every Brotherhood hideout in the region. For Assassin's Creed fans coming to Black Flag after a solid run of annual sequels that treated the Brotherhood with a kind of reverence that would make the papacy blush, this was a jarring introduction to the new face of stabby history time.
To fight beside a man so driven by personal gain and glory is a hard thing, Edward.
Ezio Auditore had been, until this point, almost unrivaled in popularity in the then fairly short league table of Assassin's Creed Protagonists because he was the most playful.
I'll kill you!
No, that's not necessary.
Not all consumed with duty like his predecessor Altaïr, or dour and unwaveringly serious like his disappointing successor Connor.
I shall meet you at our destination.
Ezio's background as a leisure-loving baby aristocrat gave him a streak of playboy cheekiness that lasted right up to the autumn of his career, as depicted in the final of the 3 games he led, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and yet his loyalty to the Creed could not be doubted. Anointed by blood, turbocharged in his determination by family tragedy, Ezio built up his family's wealth and poured it all back into the cause, living a dual life of shrewd business tycoon and shadow-stalking avenger. Essentially a Renaissance Batman with better tailoring and the legendary Leonardo da Vinci as his Lucius Fox.
Incredible. Yes, it is.
With Ezio, the series put a considerable distance between its po-faced origins and its vibrant Florentine reawakening. With Edward Kenway, Ubisoft strapped on a pair of rocket boots and left the Creed itself as a blip on the distant horizon. His abandonment of his old life in Bristol in favour of a sun-soaked Caribbean adventure of rum, sodomy and fat stacks of cash is the perfect metaphor for where the series as a whole found itself with him as its mascot. A grand reinvention, no longer bound to the urban jungle, utterly free to go anywhere. Kenway was the perfect match for Assassin's Creed players in 2013. Ubisoft had released 6 entries in 7 years, and the lore of the series was already a tangled muddle of science fiction and lineage. In fact, the overarching plot that connected the games was so unpopular that Ubisoft had prematurely killed off its modern-day protagonist Desmond in Assassin's Creed 3.
However terrible it might seem today, we'll find a way to stop it.
See, the original plan for Assassin's Creed hadn't envisioned the idea of multiple eras, multiple trilogies even, of stories told across human history with a thread of science fiction tying it all together. The modern day stuff was originally conceived as the destination, a definitive ending to the story where Desmond, having absorbed the skills and quasi-supernatural abilities of his ancestors, would take down the modern-day Templars and their corporate front of Abstergo in a contemporary set game that would have probably played something akin to Watch_Dogs, and it reportedly would have ended with Desmond and Lucy flying off in a literal spaceship to go and found a human colony of Hollywood attractive parkour babies somewhere in the distant galaxy, which doesn't sound like Assassin's Creed as much as it sounds like the holy teachings of a weird sex cult.
My name is Desmond Miles, and this is my story.
There are still traces of this silly bollocks in the original game and the Ezio trilogy that followed it. The subplot of the Animus having a bleed effect which grants Desmond the power of eagle vision and the ability to put his hood up indoors without looking completely stupid. But with each new game's modern day segments getting bigger, more intricate, and less popular, it was becoming clearer and clearer that Desmond could not carry an entire game on his own, in part because all he ever did was whine about his dad and occasionally read other people's emails. And so when some genius at Ubisoft decided to kill both him and Lucy off, ending their story with a grand sacrifice that would allow the world to continue on without them, while still giving them a meaningful send-off, what we were left with was lore. Not him. Lore about the first civilization and how their interference with early humans led to our various religions and creation myths. Lore about the technology they left behind and its coveting by key men of history, which makes real earthbound geniuses like Napoleon look like all they really did was fondle a ball. Lore about reincarnation and messages carried through time as encoded DNA markers. I'm pretending not to absolutely adore this stuff, but to be clear, I do. I'm such a mark for Assassin's Creed lore. Spread it on me thick as hell, man.
Now let's make sure we can break your brain, all right?
But you see, what all this led to was Assassin's Creed becoming about as impenetrable as Metal Gear Solid, but with thick layers of what is essentially the Silurian hypothesis, but that most people, paying little attention to anything so impossibly high-minded, dismissed as some silly bollocks about aliens. They're no aliens, it's... Never mind. At this point, the only thing about Assassin's Creed that was clear was that a new direction was needed. An on-ramp for newcomers and casuals, and a hot new protagonist whose feelings about silly bollocks could mirror that wide audience of curious outsiders so coveted by Ubisoft, who, at this point, desperately needed to find a way to grow its golden goose without alienating its base of loyal diehards like me, who are actually all in on the silly bollocks. I love silly bollocks. In that context, Kenway was a breath of ocean air. This was a man unburdened by lore, one who would never have the patience to read a codex entry about Isu ruins or pieces of Eden. He laughed in the face of po-faced expositionists and interpreted the creed in whatever way he saw fit. To him, the mantra, "everything is permitted," was a continuation of Nassau's pirate mindset, representing freedom from country, duty, and allegiance.
Imagine what a thing like that'd be worth.
Edward's Welshness, something not originally planned but that came about because that's where his actor Matt Ryan is from, also plays beautifully into this. There's a part of the Welsh condition that treats London rule as a sort of dreary inevitability. The fact that the Prince of Wales is a German heir to the English throne is considered almost something of a cosmic joke there. But under the surface, there's a great sense of rebellion in Welshness. That we've managed to keep our ancient language alive despite centuries of attempts by the English crown to stamp it out remains a testament to that. Merely existing while Welsh as something distinct from Englishness must have felt at various times in history like an act of revolt in and of itself.
Fancy meeting no Welshman. I'm English myself. Biding my time till the next war calls me to service.
Lucky King George.
Despite being the poster child of ignoring lore, Edward turned out to be something of a nexus for it that diehard fans could really sink their teeth into. Thanks to Assassin's Creed's non-chronological journey through history, fans of the series knew something about Edward Kenway even before meeting him, namely that his son Haytham would grow up to become a Templar Grand Master, and that his grandson Connor would in turn become an assassin during the American Revolutionary War. Somehow a certain ambivalence to the cause was baked into Edward's DNA.
Father, help me.
What's wrong, Haytham?
I can't see the stage.
Up we go.
On the subject of Haytham Kenway, I said earlier that Ezio Auditore's place as everyone's favourite protagonist had gone almost unchallenged. Haytham, I think, is the almost. His one-time turn as the player character in Assassin's Creed 3's epic 6-hour prologue had cemented him as an all-timer precisely because, as soon as we ditched him for his son Connor, it became very clear that the best bit of the game was frankly over. And there are hints here as to the formula that makes Haytham's father Edward such an endearing character.
What is it you require of me? I'll explain everything on the way.
Haytham isn't enthralled to the Assassin's Creed either. Rather, he's a Templar, one of their sworn enemies. But to really add insult to injury, he's a Templar who uses the signature weapon of the Assassins, the Hidden Blade, to undo their work. And everyone loved it. Haytham was almost like a Georgian James Bond. Suave, deliciously English, as charming as Hugh Grant kissing kittens, but deadlier than a Parisian tunnel. And he properly got over with the audience in a way his son, the actual protagonist of the game, never managed to. It's like starting the game with Attitude Era The Rock, and then making everyone play as 2015 Roman Reigns. And though Black Flag must surely have been deep in production at this point, this is when they were still doing annual sequels, it can't have escaped Ubisoft's notice that their most popular guys were heels. And so Edward Kenway's roguish nonchalance turned out to be something more than an interesting twist on the formula. It was something that players were actively craving, and his relaxed attitude to matters of import was a powerful match for the format of Black Flag, which presented players with greater freedom than ever before. Where its predecessor had confined sea missions to a particular corner of the map, Black Flag let you steer your ship to any point on your compass. It didn't mind whether you were doggedly pursuing main quests, chasing treasure in the belly of merchant vessels, or hunting hammerhead sharks with harpoons. If the plot took a backseat to more trivial concerns, as they so often do in open world adventures, then Black Flag could support that. After all, it's an approach that suits a man who digs in his heels when faced with obligation. Ultimately, Kenway is changed by his time in the West Indies. His story takes place over a span of several years, long enough for him to see the damage done by his actions. His journey of loss, guilt, and self-reflection leads him to reassess the ideas of the Assassins, which have always defied simple understanding, even for long-time players.
For years I've been rushing around, taking whatever I fancied, not giving a tinker's curse for those I hurt. And yet here I am, with riches and a reputation, feeling no wiser than when I left home. Yet when I turn around, look at the course I've run, there's not a man or woman that I love left standing beside me.
I won't lie to you, Kenway is a little less fun once he's wised up. Controlling a wrecking ball is undeniably exhilarating, and the resulting hangover is more of an apology tour. Yet, his redemption arc is convincing and well-earned. Stubborn personalities tend to require plenty of lessons before embracing change, and Kenway's slow transformation befits a long game, giving the story somewhere to travel while you're still mopping up missions on far-flung islands. Now that Resynced is on the horizon, he's the perfect man to meet the moment once more, heading up a game that rejects the stodgy RPG trappings of modern Assassin's Creed in favour of a simpler call to the sea. Black Flag wants you to feel wayward, and Edward Kenway is ready to give you permission.
So let the Black Flag signal nothing but your allegiance to man's natural freedoms. This one's yours. Fly it proud.
This was adapted from an article by the wonderful Jeremy Peel with additional material by me. If you're wondering which bits I wrote, they're the stupid ones. If you enjoyed that, do check out my playlist of stuff like this on IGN's YouTube channel. It's called The Trinket Perspective. Like, subscribe, leave a lovely comment by all means, and remember, above all, remain calm.